Hare Krishna. We welcome everybody to Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji Dham. Those of you who are permanent fixtures here, more or less, and those who are listening in online from various other places. For those of you who don't recognize my voice, I'm Rupanuga. I'm a disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. To prepare you, this morning we're going to be reading from Canto 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Chapter 10, texts 1 through 9. And as our wont, we will be beginning with text number 1, reading all the way through the translations to text number 9, and then we'll read the translations and purports, Srila Prabhupada's purports. Anna, Kritika, very nice to see you two here. And I know you. Dana Tarini is here with us. And we also have Mother Prabhupada Priya Prabhu here.
That's funny.
I'm accustomed to saying Prabhupada Priya Devi. I'll have to change that, I guess. Of course, all of our women disciples are representatives of Srimati Radharani, our goddess of fortune, Mother Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Lakshmi Devi. Can you check me on that as we are reading from chapter 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a light one?
No, I got it. Well, that might help. Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, it's good. Although I'm likely to have been picking the book up and holding it close to me.
Did you want to start off with Jai Radhamala?
No, I'll just swing it. I'm kidding. Chapter 10, text 11. To get old means to be slow. So don't rush me. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Are we still leaving off the saying of the prayers again? Jayom Vishnupan. We're leaving that off, right? Okay. All right, so we'll just say Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Yasan Tato Jayamudira Nasta Presha Bandreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki Gatara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Our only means of deliverance. All right, so we'll begin. Do we have microphones everywhere?
There's a microphone, yes.
Is there a second microphone?
No.
You told me there was. Anyhow, we'll make good.
The issue was it was being static stuff, and so I thought maybe it would be just best to do one because of the static.
Shri Vidura said,
If there's an objection to static, then maybe I should dismiss myself.
Not static electricity. Because you're...
We'll try to make it electric anyhow.
"Who
Canto 3, Chapter 10, text number 1. The translation, please, Kritika.
Shri Vidura said, "O great sage, please let me know how Brahma, the grandfather of planetary inhabitants, created the bodies of the living entities from his own body and mind after the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of God."
I'm pleased to see that you observed the diacritical mark over the last A in Lord Brahma's name. You observed it by giving it special emphasis. Not everyone does that. Bhakti
two.
Nana, please, number 2.
O greatly learned one, kindly eradicate all my doubts, and let me know of all that I have inquired from you, from the beginning to the end.
Okay, text number 3, Dina Tarini, please.
Text 3. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another.
Number 4, do we have a male voice in the room? Jose Prabhu?
The greatly learned sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, Brahma thus engaged himself in penances for 100 celestial years. as advised by the personality of Godhead, and applied himself in devotional service to the Lord.
Does anybody know the extent of 100 celestial years in terms of our years on this planet? Must be a few trillion. It's a long time. That's 100 celestial years. Very good. Gokulananda Prabhu has spoken. Okay, text number 6, Justadumna Prabhu.
Thereafter, Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong and violent wind.
Oh, that's text number 5, correct?
7. 6.
Okay, do we have text 6 up? Okay, Kritika, please.
Long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely along with the water.
Drank the wind along with the water. I won't ask you to explain that. We'll try to figure that out. Okay, Anna, please.
Should I read 7 or 8?
Sorry?
Should I read 7 or 8? 8? Okay. Text 8. Thus,
Should I do 7 or 8?
We haven't done 7 yet, have we? Let's do 7.
okay.
Are you up for 7?
Yeah. Thereafter he saw that the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe, and he contemplated how to create all the planets, which were previously merged in that very same lotus.
Number 8, Dina Tarini, please.
Thus engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma entered into the whirl of the lotus, and as it spread all over the universe, he divided it into 3 divisions of worlds, and later into 14 divisions.
How did he do that? He's a very special person, I think, Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma is the
Hold on, please. Jose Prabhu.
Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his costless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitants by the different types of living entities.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to pass the microphone over to Mother Prabhupada Priya Prabhu. If you will, Prabhu. Would you read the purport, please?
The text 9?
Yes, please. We have some wandering sages in the Tupper room. Is anybody in charge?
Only Krishna.
Okay. Okay, it's nice to see them, by the way. These are little people I'm talking about. Gurukulis. Okay, purport to text number 9.
The Supreme
Please.
Lord is the reservoir of all the qualities of the living entities. The conditioned souls in the material world reflect only part of those qualities, and therefore they are sometimes called pratibimbas. These pratibimba living entities, as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, have inherited different proportions of his original qualities, and in terms of their inheritance of these qualities, they appear as different species of life and are accommodated in different planets according to the plan of Brahma. Brahma is the creator of the 3 worlds, namely the lower planets called the Patalalokas, the middle planets called the Bhurlokas, and the upper planets called the Swarlokas. Still higher planets such as Maharloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and Brahmaloka do not dissolve in the devastating water. This is because of the causeless devotional service rendered unto the Lord by their inhabitants, whose existence continues up to the end of Dvipararda time, when they are generally liberated from the chain of birth and death in the material world.
Okay, let's go back now to the Sanskrit for text number 9. We're going. I'll say the word and you repeat it with me, please. You repeat it after I say, please. Etavan
etavan
jiva
jiva
lokasya
lokasya
samsta
samsta
beta
veda
samarita
samarita
dharmasya
dharmasya
hi
hi
animitasya
animityasya
vipaka
vipaka
paramesti
paramesti
aso.
aso.
Now let's do this as poetry. I will read the text as poetry, and then after you repeat, please. Etavan jiva lokasya
Etavan jiva lokasya
samsta beda samarita
samsta vedya samarita
dharmasya yanimitasya
dharmasya hi animityasya
vipaka paramestyaso.
vimaka paramestya aso.
Do it one more time. Etavan jiva lokasya
Etavan jiva lokasya
samsta beda samarita
samsta vedya samarita
dharmasya yanimitasya
dharmasya hi animitasya
vipaka paramestyaso.
vipaka paramestya aso.
Okay, repeat please, or chant please.
Etavan jiva lokasya
Samsta Vedaha Samaritaha
samsta vedya samarita
Dharmasya hi animitasya
dharmasya hi animitasya
Vipakaha Parameshtiyaso
vipaka paramestya aso. Etavan jiva lokasya samsta vedya samarita dharmasya hi animitasya vipaka paramestya aso.
We're singing Rupa Prabhu.
Etavan jiva lokasya
Samsta Veda Samarita
samsta vedya samarita
Dharmasya Yanimitasya
dharmasya hi animitasya
Vipaka Parameshyasa
vipaka paramestya aso.
Drishadimna Prabhu, please.
Etavan jivalokasya
Etavan jivalokasya
samsaveda samarita
samsaveda samarita
dharmasya yanimitasya
dharmasya hi animitasya
vipaka paramestyaso
vipaka paramestya aso.
Word for word translations. Etavan,
Etavan
up to this.
up to this
Jiva lokasya,
jivalokasya
of the planets inhabited by the living entities.
planets inhabited by the living entities.
Sangsta Beda,
Samsaveda
different situations of habitation.
different situations of habitation.
Samarita,
Samarita
performed completely. Dharmasya, of religion. He, certainly. Animitasya, of causelessness. Vipaka, mature stage.
mature state.
Paramesti,
Paramesti
the highest personality in the universe.
highest personality in the universe.
Aso,
So
that.
that.
And Prabhupada Priya Devi, would you please read the translation again?
Lord Brahma is the most exalted personality in the universe because of his causeless devotional service unto the Lord in mature transcendental knowledge. He therefore created all the 14 planetary divisions for inhabitation by the different types of living entities.
Om Jnanatimidandasya
Omyantimanandasya
Jnana Jana Salakaya
Jana Sarakaya
Chakshunun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya, no, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So, 100 celestial years, Lord Brahma meditated. And we heard from Gokulan Prabhu that that's a long time. We chant for maybe 2 hours a day. And what do we think of while we're chanting? If we're firm and strict with ourselves, what do we think? We think of the names, don't we? The words that we're saying. As a matter of fact, we used to, and during japa time here in the temple room, we used to play a tape or play a recording of Srila Prabhupada's chanting. Srila Giriraj Swami Maharaj said that Prabhupada had come into the temple room where a similar thing was going on earlier, much earlier. And Prabhupada questioned, why are you playing my japa? So he told them at that time, he said, no, you should just listen to your own japa. You should hear the words that you're saying. Now, so if we're really strict with ourselves, that's what we do. We listen to each syllable of each word that we say. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And who does the name Hare refer to? Srimati Radharani. And of course, Rama and Krishna. Lord Ram is the first, what do we say? First expansion. First expansion of Krishna. And this is pretty amazing. So this is what we are supposed to be thinking about whenever we chant. What was Lord Brahma thinking about during that 100 celestial years? How can a person sit in one place and observe the instruction, tapa, that came to him in sound form? How can he do that for 100? What is going on in his mind? We don't know, do we? And it would be speculation for us to say. But I'm going to speculate. I suspect that Lord Krishna was giving him the realizations that he needed during that very long time period, so that he would be empowered then to take the energy of Lord Krishna, of Lord Mahavishnu in particular, he would take the ingredients of the Lord, and so that came to him as a gift from the Supreme Lord. The ingredients by which to create all of the bodies in the universe, both celestial bodies, the earth, planet, the lower planets, and also the living entities were, as I understand it, were within his body as well. And he assigned a body particularly suited then to each living entity. Now, how would you like that job? How many living entities are there in this room? Innumerable. If we count the bacteria, the viruses, hopefully no COVID viruses, but if we count the viruses, if we count all, and maybe a cockroach or two hiding somewhere, then it's that's an amazing thing. So this is how many of us were raised in the Christian discipline, in the Christian background? A few of us. All right, and so we were told that God, who we interpret now to mean Krishna, created everything from nothing. From nothing. Even light, he created from nothing. So how did he do it? Just snap his fingers and light appeared? Could have. As a matter of fact, he didn't even have to snap his fingers, did he? So this is kind of an amazing thing that I think nobody else, no other religious discipline, fully understands, that everything that we see about us and everything that appears in the spiritual world as well is a manifestation of the energy of the Supreme Lord. And even we ourselves, the spirit soul living inside this body, are manifestations of the so-called marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. It's said that we're all Krishna doesn't really have any inferior energy, but it is designated that way. The material energy of the Lord, the material stuff that Lord Brahma used to create the planets and the oceans and the mountains and such, that is coming from Krishna's energy, and there's nothing inferior about Krishna's energy. But we call it the inferior energy. We understand it's been given that designation. And we understand then that the material energy of the Lord does not act on its own. That it's only by the presence of the so-called superior energy that anything happens. For example, these bodies that we're in, they last for a short period of time, and if we're very fortunate, there's not too much illness, not too much suffering, but there is going to be some for every living entity who comes into this world under the influence of that material energy. So Lord Brahma is really, really special living entity, and sometimes it is said that when there is no jiva soul to take that position of Brahma in a particular universe, then what happens? Krishna comes as Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is really special, and he also is the source of all of he's the secondary source of all of the living entities that come into this material world, and he has to know what these spirit souls desire and deserve, each one, before he can give them a suitable body. Is that an amazing thing? We don't even know innumerable, do we? It's just a word that it means something out there that just doesn't have any limits. So it's unlimited. So Lord Brahma is doing that. Here's something that was pointed out in the purports here. Lord Brahma had some difficulty dealing with that illusory energy of the Lord. You can only imagine, how hard it is for us to overcome our minds when we're trying to chant for 15 seconds. What to speak of 2 hours, or what to speak of many hours. And if it is difficult for Brahmaji to do that, to overcome the material energy, if it is difficult, then is it surprising then that we have difficulty? You might have heard it said before that Krishna doesn't really pay too much attention to what we do that is wrong in this material world, because Krishna knows better than anybody else how powerful is the influence of his material energy. So if we have difficulty in our spiritual lives, we should not be surprised at that. We should be appalled by it maybe, but not really surprised, because it is more powerful than we are, even though it's really it's considered to be an inferior energy of the Lord. Still, it's more powerful than we are. So if it's considered to be inferior, what does that make us? Okay, we have to accept the words that are found in the Bhagavatam and in other personalities who come and give us knowledge. We have to accept that we are somehow or other of the superior energy of the Lord. But our position is rather like that to someone who is standing on the coast of Florida, on the west coast, that's close to the Gulf of Mexico, knowing that a hurricane is approaching, and knowing that there's going to be probably tidal waves with that hurricane. And that person is just standing there and saying, I've dealt with the waves before. I can deal with this wave also. And so that's kind of our notion as living entities, the marginal living, is that we can be overwhelmed by that material energy. And Prabhupada says, you know, one of your faults is that you're not afraid of Maya. You're not afraid of that because maybe you think that you can control it. So that's a foolish notion, a foolish idea on the parts of us. Nonetheless, just as the Lord Brahma is glorified by the fact that he was able to fend off that onslaught of the material energy of the Lord, so also we as devotees are considered more glorious if we are able to do something similar with just the modest onslaught that hits us every day. If we can somehow or other remain fixed in our desire to become Krishna conscious, then we're glorified for that. Just take a rather ordinary personality like Haridas Thakur, born in a Muslim family. Of course, we know what he was before he took that birth. And so, who was he, by the way? He was Lord Brahma. And yet, he accepts Lord Chaitanya's request that he come in Lord Chaitanya's advent and play the part of a very low caste person in the society. And yet, look what happens. Because he had the ability to chant continuously the holy names of the Lord, he's glorified by that. And so we also, if we have some desire for prestige or fame, we can also try to move to that level. And if we just take the least little thing that attracts us, and we can't seem to shake it off, and yet we persist in chanting the holy names in spite of our mind that has a tendency to wander everywhere around. That's why I like to stay in one place, sit in one place, and I think this advice has been given by, let's see, who was our nice young sannyasi from Germany? What was his name? Satchidananda Swami. Yeah, I think it was he who said, it is better to sit and chant, and if you can't sit, then stand. That's the next best. And if you can't chant effectively standing, then you move around, you walk. But I've tried walking around this community and chanting my japa. Total fiasco. What do they call it? Radar rounds. Your eyes are like radar. Everything it sees, it takes your mind to it, right? So if we can just try our best to be very effective in hearing the names of the holy names as we're chanting our rounds, then that could possibly have a similar effect to what happened to Lord Brahma when he was able to overcome the material energy that kept pushing at him. So we have that problem, don't we? So Lord Krishna gave access to Lord Brahma not only of the ingredients to manufacture this material, but he also gave him the ideas, the knowledge, what to do with those ingredients. All right, fine, you've created unlimited numbers of planets in this universe. And now they're all inhabited by different living entities, or they need to be. And now, so how are you going to do that? So this empowerment came from Lord Krishna. You know, in ancient Greece, the Greek playwrights, when they began to write a play, generally they recognized the muse. Do you know that word, the muse, M-U-S-E? Okay, that's a group of goddesses, Divi goddesses, as I understand it, who empower an artist or a musician or a playwright to create something of value for the persons that they're, because that's what the purpose was of drama at that time. You know, no internet, no amplifiers, no microphones, no stage. Well, it might have been a stage, but generally speaking, then they recognized, those playwrights recognized the need for help from the outside. And during my working career, I taught freshmen and sophomores in college English, and I tried to help them understand as I could that you're trying to do this all by yourself. It ain't going to happen. You got to have help from the outside. And so that's something that we need to recognize also. If we're not being successful in our endeavor to practice Krishna consciousness, then we should stop and say, help, somebody help me. Won't you please help me? Even the Beatles got it, didn't they? So they understood. And so we, the living entities, and we depend on the inspiration. So, you know, we look around us and see the marvelous things that are done. Anybody been to Manhattan? Have you seen Manhattan? I won't raise my hand because I haven't been, but I've seen pictures. And can you imagine on this one island, it's just full of skyscrapers. Amazing. And then there are bridges that cross over a significant body of water. I saw one in a bridge that was created in China that went on for miles and miles and miles. Somebody posted it on Facebook, and I happened to be looking at it. And it was amazing. How are you going to make a bridge that will withstand all of the turbulence that comes from the water and the wind? And yet they seem to have done it. Of course, every time we think that we've made something that is unstoppable, then the material energy of the Lord is there to remind us that you ain't seen nothing yet. And so we get hammered. And so even though the ingredients for all of these great, wonderful things had been created by human beings, the ingredients all came from the Lord's material energy. We have to remember that the idea for creating something out of this material energy is coming also from outside ourselves. Classical music. I happen to like Beethoven quite a lot. And his Ninth Symphony is considered by some to be the best. It's the choral symphony. There's the Ode to Joy in it, I think it's called, toward the end of the symphony. But did you know that Beethoven was becoming deaf when he was preparing that symphony, when he was creating the symphony? And so he never really heard that symphony performed. Now, how was he able to create something that is performed using sound if he can't even hear? If he can't hear, in other words, you can play some notes on a piano or something, and you can say, "Oh yes, I like that," and then you can write that down, and you go on and make some more notes like that. But he's unable to hear, and yet he was hearing within his mind. Now, some people say he was a great he was a genius. He was a genius composer. He was able to do that. And yet, we know that those thoughts for creating that symphony came from outside Beethoven. Started to say Shakespeare. Same thing with Shakespeare with literature. Amazing, amazing author. But we look in the 11th canto, I think 28th chapter, texts 1 and 2, and it says, you should not praise anyone. You should not praise anyone. But rather, the praise should be offered to the source of the wonderful things that person has done. You can say, you're a very fortunate person, Prabhu. You got the mercy of the Supreme Lord. You were able to deal with his material energy. So, Krishna then gives the ingredients. He gives the ideas within the mind to design, to create. And we not only in the technical world, but also with music and art, those come as gifts from the Supreme Lord. So, all the music that we have been accustomed to hearing, classic rock or blues or what else? Rap. So many different kinds of music. We think, does that come from Krishna? All right, so we'll have to say it comes from Krishna's material energy. If it has nothing to do with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we know that it must be coming from the illusory energy of the Supreme. So that's about all I want to say about that. And we have enough time for some questions. Comments are good. I want to hear questions first. Does anybody have any questions? I want to make sure we address questions before we ask for comments. Any questions, please? Also, let me make one suggestion to you. Anybody who considers himself to be a student of Vaishnava philosophy, when you come into the temple room and you hear a lecture, if you've got a pad with you, and I've just been given this pad, it's a really handy way to write down ideas because ideas come to your mind whenever the speaker is speaking. But by the end of the long dissertation by the speaker, then you will likely forget some of those thoughts that you maybe had a question about. So I'm willing to try to answer any questions that you might. And if you don't write them down, then I don't think you're likely to remember. So anyhow, let's go. Questions?
In the sixth text, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that a devotee can become a controller of material energy by surrendering to Krishna. So I was curious, what does it mean for a devotee to be a controller of material energy? What's this mean? What's this look like?
Well, let's go to our text for today. Lord Brahma became the controller, didn't he? As a matter of fact, some people consider him to be the supreme controller, that he's the main guy. He's the CEO of this whole operation. But we understand that that control was granted to him. He was entrusted with that control. He was entrusted with the ingredients, and then he was entrusted with the ideas that made the universe what it is as we have it now. And the bodies, different bodies that came according to a person's, the individual jiva soul, the body that comes is coming strictly from Lord Brahma's understanding of what each living entity needs and deserves. There's another personality too in the universe that knows what a person has done, not only a person, but any living entity within the universe has done. And when it comes time for that living entity to give up that particular body, he goes before another demigod. Who is that? Yamaraj. Or some say Dharmaraj. Dharmaraj, I've read it that Dharmaraj or Yamaraj he's very similar to Antaryami, Supersoul within the heart, in that he knows all of the activities of the living entity. Of course, if you're not in the human form, of which, how many different forms of life are there in the universe? 8,400,000? And how many of those are humans or humanoids? 400,000. So, of the different kinds of humans. And not only the human beings, of course it's the human beings who have to take the rap for whatever they do in this lifetime, right? And so who is the person then that awards the punishment that they receive? Yamaraj. So he has to know what every living entity in the body of a human, well, what about all the other living entities who are in different kinds of bodies? He has to know about them too, I suppose. Although they don't take reactions for what they do. The lions don't take reactions for ripping apart a human being who happens to be sitting in meditation out in the forest. Isn't that so? The lion doesn't take reactions, or she, because that's not their responsibility. They're simply acting on the directions of the supersoul within their bodies. And just as we have supersoul in our bodies, so, the microbe, the gopi, what's it called? What's the tiniest? Indragopa. Yeah, Indragopa. Tiniest, I think it's the tiniest body a living entity can have in this universe, isn't it? I don't know whether that's smaller than a virus or a bacteria. But anyhow, so Lord Brahma has to know about what they deserve and what they need. So how is the devotee different? Does he always get what he deserves and what he needs? I guess he does. But when you start speaking the name of Krishna, either favorably or unfavorably, you got Krishna's attention. And so he's going to give you what is necessary to get you to the next level in your spiritual advancement. If it takes a couple of slaps, he'll gladly, see that you get those. Maybe from another devotee. Or maybe some devotee will say something harsh to you, and you'll say, "You're not in the position to say that to me. You're not my spiritual master." But of course we understand that every suffering, every piece of suffering that we get from another devotee, we should say, what? Get out of here. No. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have just saved me from having to suffer even worse for something. I don't know what. Nityananda was back here in the Pujari room one day, and we were talking. He said that whenever somebody criticizes me, whether it's due or not due, he says, I feel happy. I thought, what? I don't like to be criticized. Why do you like to be criticized? But he was telling me, he made a point. He says, I know that something good is going to come next. Maybe not from that person, but something else is going to happen. Why? How could it come? Because that person has just helped me to get rid of some reaction that I had coming. Perhaps I was sometime in the past, even in this lifetime, maybe I showed disrespect to someone who was my superior. In some way, my superior. Or what if it was an inferior? If I consider that person to be inferior to me. Still, if I show disrespect to that person, then I'm due some disrespect in the future. So, going back to I should ask if anybody else has a question. Yes, please. Mother Prabhupada. Priya.
Prabhu, may I ask, just is the answer of the question that the devotees' control over material energy is that they are able to do their service? Is that what I heard?
That they're what?
So the control they have over material energy when they surrender Krishna is just the ability to do their service.
The ability to, that's one way. That's one way that they can control. Of course, we say control it, but they're like the tennis player who swings his racket and hits the ball, and that's all the control that he has. That's all he can do. So we make the attempt to do something, hopefully that's favorable to Krishna consciousness. We make that attempt, but it may not produce the result that we wanted. Why? Because that's not what Krishna wanted. He wanted us to understand that you're not, Rupanuga, you're not in control. You're not. You may think you're a grand devotee. You may think you're a grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada. But I'm the one that determines where that ball is going to go once it leaves that player's racket. At that point, he stops being in control. There's no way that he can do anything more, he or she, about where that ball is going to go. And so that's the way we are also. Please, Prabhupada Priya Devi.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. I became a little confused about the sequence of events here with Lord Brahma, because it seems like he does his 100 celestial year-long meditation twice. Like once is in the darkness where he doesn't know his source or anything, and then he does 100 years to try to just understand the situation. Then the Lord appears, and then he does another 100-year-long meditation to try to understand how to do his service of creating. Is that what it is?
Okay, one moment. Translator. Sorry, it's me, it's not you.
Sometimes she's saying that she gets a little confused about the sequence of the events. And Rama, it seems that when he's in the darkness, he does 100 years, celestial years of meditation to figure out what's going on in the darkness. And then another 100 years to figure out how to create. So is this the case? Does he do it twice or 3 times? Twice? 3 times? We don't know?
I mean, I was thinking before that he had only done it once, but it appears that he did it twice. So I was just asking did he actually do it twice?
Did he actually, do
I don't know.
We'll have to look back again.
Sorry, that's beyond the experience I've had.
It seems like it.
Seems like it, right?
It's pretty clear that he was in the darkness for the first 100 years. And then this is another 100 years of how to create. It seems like that's what Father Tom's saying from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. I was in darkness, complete darkness, for about 28 years of my life. I don't think that's equivalent to 100 celestial years. No. But then I began learning, and still I was, the darkness was still there, but it was beginning to dissipate. Like when we, get up in the morning, if we happen to be looking out the window or something, we can tell when the first light becomes apparent. So, sometimes we're at various stages. We might not be right now in the full sunshine of knowledge, but at least the light is beginning to come. So I don't. Does this compare with Lord Brahma? Probably not. But similar situation, Jiva soul, that it has to be empowered by the Supreme Lord, has to be enlightened by the Supreme Lord, and he's just a lucky fellow.
Yeah, I was thinking it's kind of instructive for us, because it shows that whenever you're in need of clarity or direction or strength, just go into meditation. And for us, that means, chant japa, do kirtan, chant the holy names. So it's something that you don't just do once and it's over, but you keep going back to it again and again, because we're always, the way material energy works is it's repeatedly plunging us into confusion. And we repeatedly need to focus on Krishna for clarity.
Well, I'd say our experience is not completely analogous to Lord Brahma's, but we do have something similar. You know, we receive knowledge, we become a little bit enlightened, and we're able to do things. But, you know, as we receive more and more knowledge, and as we become more and more pure-hearted, then Krishna empowers us more and more to use his material energy to make him happy.
And it's cool because, like, before his meditation, he was kind of scared of the water. He was afraid of the wind and the water and all that. And then after his meditation, he was just like super Brahma, you know, just like he just sucked it all up.
It sounds like what we say to someone who is who's gotten hurt or something. Suck it up. So anyhow, I really don't fully understand. I'm not even close to understanding what Lord Brahma went through, but I appreciate the fact that this Brahma is a jiva soul. As I understand it, there was a past Brahma who was bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord, and he chased after his own daughter. And then he gave up that body once he was criticized by his sons, who were great advanced souls also. He gave up that body, and it is said that body then appeared as a dangerous fog in the night. There's poetry even in the Bhagavatam. I think we're out of time, folks. So I just want to thank you very much. I'm sorry we didn't get around to answering any question or giving you time to comment. But I thank you for being with us today and joining in, helping me get through this. So we'll say, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Shivara Kalachandidam Ki Jai, Gaura Premanand.